Hello everyone, I am Nolana Lynch and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing my processes for stories 13 to 18. You can craft along with me, play this in the background. I've also created chapters so you can see the various stories as you go along if you prefer to do that. But it's going to be a lovely, relaxed crafting video as I catch up on my December daily album. I wanted to just share this because I have been working hard behind the scenes to keep up and catch up with my December daily this year. I feel like it's a busy year. It is my first year as a mom of two, and so it's been interesting noting the rhythms and getting used to it all. So in this layout, I kick things off with some a 7 by 8 photo from our friend's each street market visit. We usually gather at one of our friends' homes and we all come together as families. But this year we chose to meet up at each street market, which was actually really fun. And I've wanted to go here for a long time. But this was like a really beautiful time to go because it was all festive. There was Santa, there were gingerbread men, there was all sorts of things happening, and I feel like it was such a really fun time. So I decided to use these strips for this one. And first I thought I'd just cut the photos out, but then I realized I can just size them in Canva and just stick the strip on top, which is, saving me a few steps. So I decided to do that instead. And I am just cutting it down to size. What I originally thought is I would use the 7-inch photo with the 3 by 8 and a couple strips would fit in there. But really and truly, one strip fits in there comfortably the way I envisioned it. So it was actually perfect for the layout because I added in about 3 photos for each stories 13 and 14. So I worked on this interchangeably. So this is story 14. But they're back to back, and what happens is that I am creating a shared pocket. So on the front side we have the photos for story 13, and on the back side we have the photos and journaling for story 14. Which is, I'm not sure if I've ever done something like that before. I typically think of my stories as standalone layouts, and that's been really different for me this year. I think it's mainly been allowed because I didn't do foundation pages. I usually have foundation pages for most of my days by the time December starts, but this year was very different, and so I don't. And what it allows me to do though is kind of pick up on using my supplies in a way that kind of maximizes this back-to-back situation. I'm quite enjoying it because my album is quite bulky usually. But this time I've been doing quite well. I just turned over as I added in story 17 to 20 into my albums today. I realized it was time to move across, so I moved those stories across, and so my album number 1 is December daily stories 1 to 16, and then my second album will be 17 to 25. And so I'm using some redline tape, which is the exact thickness of this. I probably would recommend using this smaller size of redline tape just so that you have a bit of wiggle room, so that it doesn't throw off the edge or anything like that. But I typically thought that this would be perfect because what I find happens is that it depends on your vision. But sometimes you can see the adhesive behind. It's very, very minimal, especially I think for redline tape. But if it is a bit thinner, then there would be a slight variation. of color maybe. So I didn't want to chance it, and I just decided to use the width of the slider as the tape of choice. But of course, any size tape will do. I just feel like this one leaves the least amount of imprint, and I guess you can probably see when I complete the layout, the crossbars, there aren't any tape. So, and I felt like they look quite similar in terms of the color or the pigment that was thrown. So enjoying having that. And then I'm just using my tweezers quickly to remove some of the red line tape. Now there are a number of ways to do this. I like using my tweezers. There's also a red line tape remover tool that I have. And then, you can probably use your fingers as well, which I do sometimes, depending on my mood. And so I'm pulling this off, and I'm simply going to put this onto this, and I feel like this just happened ever so beautifully and easily for this particular one. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that turned out. And so now we have the other side of this, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to add in red line tape, and I am going to just pop that down along the perimeter of this frame. And once I've done that, then I can go in and stick it onto the photos from the market. And so this was a fun way of playing catch up in my December daily album, because for stories 13 and 14 and 15 and 16, 13 and 14 were back to back and kind of piggybacked off of each other. Then 15 and 16 were similar formulas, which I quite like that. And 17, I use a prompt paper, which is fun. And then for 18, I did one of my favorite layouts that I like to do every year with vellum pocket. So excited to share with you how those all came together here in today's video. I'm just placing the red line tape down on this edge here, and then I continue on trying to get this done. So just going to pull these off again. And I know that sometimes you can like flick off a small portion of the red line, and then make sure that you have it well positioned before going in and removing the entire piece of red line tape. But apparently I was feeling really brave, and I'm just double checking that the plastic from this frame has also been removed. And so I'm not sure what happens here, but I struggled with the second one. So after getting that first one so easily and being so confident that I can do it again, I really struggled to get the frame onto this. For whatever reason, I think maybe that first picture I have is a bit to the right, and so it kind of didn't come on straight. So what I ended up doing in the end was going back into Canva and just shifting them around. I decide to reprint these photos eventually, but just keep in mind that sometimes these things can happen. So I'm just gonna give it a few more tries, because I feel like it could still work if I lay it down, but tough times is, so let's try this again. I'm gonna use the tweezers this time. I'm still going in with this frame, and the words I think are a bit to the left. So I'm definitely going to go into Canva and re reposition these a bit. I mean, this is quite close and quite okay, but I could kind of, see the white line. So I'm just gonna do it over. All right. So realizing that I've completely destroyed that frame, I am just gonna stick this one down because, YOLO. And I'm also remembering that the top bit needs to be cut down. And once I'm just trying to size it up to give myself the biggest chance of succeeding in the second round of applying this. Now, of course, it would probably be a lot easier if you applied it photo by photo or piece by piece to the back of the slider. I just thought this would save me time, and in the end, it really didn't. But it's all in a crafty session. Like, so many things happen. It's just fun. Just laugh at myself, etc., etc. So there we are. Finally, this is the last bit. And I'm just gonna stick it all down, just slowly making sure it's all lined up. And then I have it here. So I love how that turned out, and I'm just going to also pop some stars on, because we love stars, and just going through my entire star collection so that I can choose 3 stars. And I love laughing at myself, because it's so interesting. I have loved listening to some persons in our community talk about, kind of limiting the tools or the supplies that you have when you're working on projects like this, like long-term projects like this, so that you're not, making a whole lot of decisions and having design fatigue. And I have tried that, especially in this catch-up phase. I think after this particular layout, I have gone in there and kind of tried. But I also love the Summit Daily because I get to dig in my stash and pull out things that I like. And I remember, okay, yeah, I have this from my stash and I love it. Let me pull that out. So this is a situation like that where I knew I was out of like the gold stars from the from this year's collection. And I was like, oh yeah, but we have gold glitter stars from previous collections. Let me go in and see what I can find. And this is what I found. And so I completely love how it's coming together. I'm just gonna match the stars on the second side of the page. And once that's done, I am going in to continue working on the other elements of this layout. So yeah, trying to use some of the smaller stars so that I don't block the journaling or the photos as well. I felt like that was pretty important here. And also, just taking my time and enjoying the process of it all. I think a lot of times, especially with everything, we have to remember that, crafting is a hobby and it's fun and we love it and we're enjoying it. And I think for me, there's always the balance of, okay, story number, whatever day it is, this is what I'm working on, this is what happened, this is how much time I have to craft tonight, what can I do in this time, and just kind of trying to kind of realistically lay out those kind of guidelines and boundaries for myself when I'm crafting. Has been very interesting in this season. I know next year would be different, and I expect it to have a bit more, time during the day and whatnot. But I guess, we just have to make the best use of the time that we have. And I've quite loved focusing on that during the season. And, I'm a night crafter this year. I don't think I've been a night crafter. Like, I love crafting whenever I can, but I don't feel like I've been like a solely night crafter for very ever, probably. Um, and so that's probably new. I think like that's new because with two kids, you kind of always have something going on during the day. So I really love having these mama sessions where I can unwind with my crafty stuff and just let my brain work in this way, which I love. So I'm using this 3x8 transparency, and I am simply gonna cut this down a bit so that it can fit within a 3x8 page protector. I thought about it for a while in terms of what method to use for this kind of pocket to fit my slider in. And I thought about stitching it, but I'm not sure if my sewing machine really loves the thicker transparencies. It kind of slides on it a bit. So I felt like it was safer, since I really love this transparency, to put it in a page protector and then attach the page protector to the photos. So this is what I'm doing. I am using Here for the Magic on the front side. I'm just signaling to the season that I'm here for everything that it brings, and I'm open to receiving the joy and beauty of this wondrous holiday season. Like, I can't believe that it's already, like the last week plus and of the year, and whoa, so many feelings. But here is my pocket. So I am stuffing this in, and this is really just gonna fit in there snugly. I also want to add in some sequins or some confetti stars or something that would work for this, but it's probably not extremely necessary if I do think about it like that. But it is nice. It's a nice to have. But I really love how this little pocket turns out with my slides and my little, transparencies. I'm looking again to see if there's another transparency I'd like to use instead, but I'm fine. Everything's fine. This is fine. I think in the end it worked well for me. But I do love to double check. So this is good. We're good. Everything's great. And so now I'm going to add in my title for this layout. I love how this come together, and I'm thinking through what embellishments I can add. I have to add a tab on the top of the frames, and if I should work with things from the advent calendar or just some of the stickers here. So it is quite a bit to work through. I love having a variety of tabs. That's a nice one with those 3 gold stars and the magic. I've loved having a variety of tabs to work with this season, so that's been really fun. And then I'm pulling out some of my favorite alphas. These are foam red ones from a previous December daily collection, and it has been quite great. being able to use my stash. I also love this number 13 because they fit really well in the slider frame, and just adding it on the one because I feel like that's the most discreet place to pop it on. I always love seeing how everyone attaches their plastic pieces because that's always something to think about. Like where, what, how. Um, and so in this case, I use my red line tape. I find that when I use it against the like darker colors of this, the patterned or darker part of the transparency, I don't see the tape as much. So that's something that I strive to do. And then I am gonna go along with this and look on the title. Something that happened, I changed some of my settings when I was printing in the borderless setting, but I did auto expand on the minimum setting. And it kind of gave me that white strip down below. It's the first time I recall playing around with that setting, honestly. And so I decided that I would, lean into that and decorate it somehow. So now I'm adding in my alphas, each straight market. I love working with these puffies. I thought that they were perfect because of that red glow that we got on our photo. In this part of the market, it's Asian themed, and there were lots of lanterns and I think red roofing that created that glow. Anyway, when I look back on the photos, they look so perfect. I love a red glow. As you'll see in one of my layouts, I think it was layout 19 for Enchanted Garden, which is when we have like this whole light show through one of our parklands, and it's beautiful. And I always love the red glow photos the best. So I noticed that we took photos with the teddy bear and this gorgeous lady. Is she a candy cane lady? Anyway, it was fun. And my son and my daughter, like my daughter just loves looking at everything he does, and so she's looking up at him because he's so high in the sky, and I'm sure she's waiting patiently for the day that she can be carried like that, not by me. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a cute photo. I love how it turned out. My husband's always talking because he's trying to be at a height that kind of balances a photo. I guess he thought he was too tall. But that would have been quite fun if he was actually standing up straight and my son was, that would have gone right next to the T, that T out straight. So, anyway, this is cute. I love this photo. It's just so fun. And so now I'm looking through my washi, and I'm working through what would look best. They have this candy cane, which is cute. It's nice. I like it. Could work. But then I also see these kind of, what are these called, guys? I don't know. Please tell me in the comments below. I realize I just call them candy canes, but they're not. They're, yeah. Anyway, I found this and I thought it would work well because she was holding one as well. And so I am just kind of playing around because this is what I do. That would have been fun too, is word strip. I'm kind of channeling my inner Ali, and I am using washi in my layouts this year. It's something that I don't usually do, which is wild because I have the biggest washi collection from my planner days. And so once I kind of mentally realize that I don't have to revere and reserve my washi collection for just planning, because I'm not as big of a planner as I was before. Like before scrapbooking, that was my creative outlet. But now this is, and so I gave myself permission to begin using my washi tape in my layouts, and I've used quite a few, and I'm really proud of myself. So thought I'd share that. Um, I'm just going to add some red line tape to the back of this photo. And once I do that, I am just going to go around all the corners except for the one, all the sides, except for the one where, yes, the holes are going to be punched. So just showing you a close up. I added in the market, I added in my wristband from that day. So this is what it looks like all put together at the end, and then I'll punch the other side. So this was my birthday, and I had a busy day with the kids, and then my husband sent, flowers and some chocolates and stuff. And we also had dinner in the evening. So this is one of my favorite restaurants in the area. It is Asian fusion. But we stopped going when my son became a runner. So around about probably 18 months or 2 years old, he started running when we were in restaurants. And this is kind of, we used to eat outside, and it's just open air. So as you can see, we're eating inside. So this is probably the first time my family has eaten inside. This is our return to the restaurant. We realize he's older now. He's not a runner. And my daughter, so, she's not walking yet. So we have a small window, guys, where we can go to this restaurant. And we obviously booked inside just to be safe. So it was really fun going there. And I've been wanting to try the Singaporean chili crab for a really long time from her. And my husband was like, it's your birthday, have whatever you want. And so I had that crab, and it was so good. Anyway, beautiful dinner, had lots of fun, and now I'm gonna create this layout. Just documenting that with the dinner. And I decided to use this beautiful nested chipboard square. I played a bit just now, as you saw, with using pieces of it versus the whole thing. But I really love how it all looks together. And I am just gonna do that. So working through and just adding red line tape to each bit, and also trying to add the red line tape to the in between spaces so that it doesn't fall apart, and then I'm going to cross it back now like a window to keep it more stable. And once I'm done with that, I can go ahead and add the other one as well, create a crisscross, and remove this red line tape. So once I've seen that all done, I can add it to, I'm using the 3x4 snapping from Simple Stories, and I love using it just for an easy interactive piece in my layout. In this situation, I have decided that I'll use this journal card, and I'm just going to write in some details of the journaling of the day. It's so interesting. I think it's a Monday. The 15th was a Monday. And yeah, it was such an interesting day. Anyway, happy birthday to me. And just writing that in. I did feel energized after dinner or during dinner. It was nice just being able to hang out with everybody and not have that evening rush of cooking and trying to get everybody settled down for that night routine. So this was fun. And then I realized that the journal card is gonna tuck in really cute. You'll see just now. So I'm just gonna take this part down, and I also decide not to. I thought it would be really nice in that space between our heads and just over my daughter's head, but still seeing a piece of the Christmas tree outside and the lights because those are pink and it ties in with the pink of the scallop and the nested chipboard. So yeah, a few things happening that I take into consideration. But that journal card, you saw it says this cozy moment, and the this books up on top of the couch. I thought it was really cute. So just gonna add that in, cut off a bit of this. It doesn't have too much of a tab on top of the photo, and then I'm just going to add this in and removing the red line tape. And from the back of this, I just used one. I feel like the chipboard is heavy enough to just keep it solid in position. And yeah, just gonna put that in right there. So it's just easy peasy. I love how this one comes together. Now I feel like, you know, probably, I mean, I didn't have a lot of photos from the day. Another thing I want to do is probably add in, there's a photo that I took of the flowers and stuff when it came, so I'll probably add that in, tuck that in behind the journal. But for now, this is, I think it's beautiful and I love it. So I'm just gonna also put a title using these white glitter stickers, which is from a previous December daily collection as well. So I'm pulling out this white alpha and keeping in mind where the holes will be. And I'm just gonna add in happy birthday to me. This is going across the top there. I think will be perfect for that. I love using alpha stickers to create titles. I think that was one of my goals the past couple of years to just use more of my alpha stickers, because there was a season where I would stamp titles or use my Cricut cutout titles and whatnot, but I feel like this is one of the great tips for catching up, just using what you have, and that makes your life a bit easy. Keeping things simple, it's still pretty, and it's easier than embossing a title and whatnot. So play into some of those strengths. If you're someone who feels like you can catch up at any time in this journey, whether it's this December or it's next year or a few years down the road. I feel like this video would still be relevant and the tips will still be relevant, where you want it to be beautiful and you also want it to make sense for your current life and the time that you have, and you're having fun as well. So just anyway, so I'm doing happy birthday to me. I'm starting off with my T-square for this part because I have 2 rows to play with, and I am also simply going to add the to me, but also figuring out if the birthday can fit as well, or if I need to do another row of that. But I feel like it would just fit. I feel like it would just fit. But yeah, it might still be a bit too close to my son. So maybe not. I will just do a second row to be safe. It also just adds a bit more, for the eyes to see. A bit more layering and levels happening there. So let's just go ahead and get that done, and take our time. One of the things I love doing when I am doing titles is I go through the letters of the set, and I spell the words out, and I check to be sure that I have the amount of letters I need for each letter in the phrase or the title that I am creating. I have been in a situation once or twice where I thought I had enough and I realized that I didn't. I may have miscounted put a double P for happy or whatnot. So that's quite important unless you have something similar. I think I cut another letter that looked similar and kind of pieced. You could piece together letters based on the letters that you do have. So, hot tip. It's so much fun. So just popping these pieces out. I feel like I could make a whole something with the pieces that are inside of these particular letters because all the B's, D's, O's, P, R's, they all have things in them. That'll be a fun little page, like a background page or like a lower half of a photo or just to add some elements. Anyway, so this is happy birthday to me. And guys, this is my layout for this month for number 15. Absolutely adore how it turned out. And I think it's super cute. And now I'm just gonna add in some of these starbursts. We're almost to the end of those, aren't we? We only have 3 more. I feel like I've finished the sheet on this layout. Also keeping in mind where the holes are going to be, so I'm not going to add them, too low down or too close, just kind of keeping in mind. And so I pulled something that I have, one of the layouts I'm going to work on. So that was right there, so that works. And then I pull the third one. I do love using up things during December daily as well. There's some sort of, I don't know, accomplishment. Oh, that would have looked nice tucked under as well, as I initially wanted to use it, but we have 3 stars and a happy birthday to me and a pull out, and that's great. So now on to layout 16. I am going to do a similar formula for this, but using some slightly different things. I'm going to use this green, and this the hole is on the right hand side. So the green library pocket, I love it. And then the reason I'm using one of the flip up page pieces, 3x4 pieces for this is because we received a school coin. Now this is our governor of our state, and she lives close by up the street from us, and we go to her night lights every year. It's a public event, and they you just light up the garden. They allow you to go into the government house and take photos by their Christmas tree, and they do a little tour. There's sometimes a band. So this year for the first year there were coins being distributed, and I wanted to use that in my layouts, and I'm also journaling a bit of this. So what happened is when I first visited the nightlight with my son, he was just a few weeks old, and I did take a picture with her. I saw her walking around. She was also a chief medical or chief health officer during COVID, so we would see her doing reports every day. And so I was just so proud of her, becoming our governor after that. I think it was really well earned, a welcome break. I mean, COVID was so hectic. And anyway, so I had to tell her that, and then, her assistant who was with her, she asked if I wanted a picture, and I was like, oh yeah, great. And so I have a picture with my son, and her during the night lights. And so this time around, she was actually walking right in front of us, just chatting. And I was like, oh, I should get one with my daughter too, so that I have like a kind of similar side-by-side photo. I mean, this time my husband was there, and so it's a bit bigger photo. But yeah, I quite like how it turned out, and the fact that we were able to do it again. for my daughter. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do and capture in my December daily album, like, a side by side of things with his first Christmas and her first Christmas. Albeit that she's almost one, and then because he was born late October, his first Christmas, he was a few weeks old. So it's more, I think, more his second Christmas as well might line up with her first, because he was just over one for that second Christmas. So that's something I might keep in mind, as well. But anyway, today they were playing and Daddy was holding him up, and I felt like there was a photo like that in one of our December daily albums. So I was sure to capture it today, which was fun. So just keeping those kinds of things in mind and those similarities. Today we did Southbound, which is one of our favorite, spots in our city, and they light it up and they play Christmas music, and they say there was, you'll see it in our future. I'll talk about it. But yeah, that would have been something similar that we did. The bridge is lit up in red and green, and I have a photo of that with my family, my in-laws, and my husband and my son. And so I want to do that again with everybody, just things like that to kind of tie it all in. I feel like that's one of the fun parts when we have another child. I'm trying to add adhesive to this. I didn't quite press down hard enough because I didn't want to scratch the star, but I get some bits off, but I still add some extra glue there just to be safe. But I quite like how that looks, a little Governor General coin with the tree on one side and probably the coat of arms on the other side. I'm not sure. But it has her name and stuff like that, which I thought was really nice as a memorabilia. And so also adding in a couple more stars just to bring it all together. And also wanting to add in the number. So I'm just gonna put this third star here, and I decide to punch a little hole on the top to add as a little, charm. And once that's through, I'm going to use this. This is a piece of the star mini kit where there was some tags and there was some string in there. I'm using some of that string because I believe that I've used some of the tags without the string already. So, yep, I'm just popping that in. And I love how this looks too. I think it's just, clean and pretty and, stars in the sky, night lights. Just trimming that ribbon a bit. I mean, I trimmed it a bit too much, but hey, we're here already. And then I'm gonna add in the title as well, and try not to cover the house in the background. And also adding the number for this layout. So number 16, and like how it looks right there in the middle of the star. So that's fun. And so I'm just going to add glue to this star itself so that we have the adhesive where it needs to be. And then pop that on right there. And so I have that done. It's a little, squiggly, cute. So now I'm gonna add in night lights, and then this would be my number 16. Woo! Okay, so I feel really good because I think at this stage I am pretty much caught up, and I think all the layouts from hence onward, I work on it at night. So it's such a tricky thing. The idea and the concept of being caught up, and I know it's definitely a personality thing. It's, everybody thinks about it differently. And I guess as I said that and I look on my desk, I'm seeing the layout for day 20 on my desk, but it's just past midnight here. And it is the 21st into the 22nd, so it's now the 22nd. and I am seeing my day 20 is pretty much finished. And I'm thinking about my day 21 and how I want that laid out because we did take a lot of photos this evening on our outing. And so that would be, another thing. I think that's probably the main difference is having that creative energy as opposed to having foundation pages already. My number 19 came together quite quickly because I already knew what I wanted that to look like. But I have no idea what I want 21 and 22 to look like, so that would be fun. And obviously, and for the rest of the year, I think for 25, I think I'm coming around. I usually have a concept for my day 25 as well, because I just kind of latch on to something fun to document Christmas Day. So I'm excited to see how that comes out. But yeah, I'm gonna have some my work cut out for me over the next few days. So this is fun. Night lights. This is what it looks like. I like it. It works. And now we can move on to 17. Now 17 is a bit of a fun one. And I used this prompt paper in this season to capture some of the things that are happening, for us, in the season. um, so my friend Sabrina came over for the weekend. She's from the Caribbean as well, is in Australia, as well as my other friend. She is also from the Caribbean, and we had like a little luncheon. And then I didn't quite have enough photos for that to be a full story, but I decided to use that one photo there. And then there's this one of I think it's something my son sitting by the Christmas tree, just hanging out, my daughter climbing up and playing in the laundry. She likes that right now. She likes playing in with the washing machine. I found my kids pulling and playing with the baubles around the tree, and it was really cute. They were just sitting, like my daughter was sitting, my son was standing, and they were just kind of playing with the baubles gently and like kind of in awe. And that was just the most beautiful thing to see. And I'm just so happy that I got up right in time to capture it before they saw me. That's always a thing. And so I love how authentic the shot is. I don't always get that because they're super great at seeing me coming. Always wanting to know where I am and that kind of thing. So this was really nice to see. And the fact that they were both playing together but on separate sides of the tree at the same time, I just love it so much. So I decided to not do that small because it would have had to be in the opposite direction, because of how it's on the length. Yeah, so I decided to do that one bigger and to do like a flip in onto this in the season photo paper. Ali recommended doing a zigzag stitch, and that when you do it, it folds over onto a page. I thought that was pretty cool. I haven't done a zigzag stitch in a really long time, so I wasn't quite sure where my sewing needle would land on the paper when I put it in the first time. So I kind of zogged it up a little. You'll see where it landed. Like I had to do a recovery process. Let me know what you think about my recovery of the flip, but I'll talk about it some more because it's going to come up. So this is the photos that I measured down to work with. I think it's about 1.875 by 1 point something 5 maybe. Not sure, but please do your measurements. And then I pop them into Canva, the photos into Canva and size them. and I printed them to size, not borderless or anything like that. And then I'm just adding them. I liked leaving a little white border. I didn't quite need to, but it was quite nice. I haven't done that in a while. And just adding them in where I think it makes sense. I felt like one of the things I wanted to do was add pockets, like vellum pockets to each one, and then tuck them in. But in the end, I just added a vellum pocket to the one in the center, which was quite fun too. So I'm just gonna cut it down to just over the size of the vellum of that pocket die. I thought of a few ways to create the pocket, but the die actually fits perfectly, so that was really great. I pulled out my little die machine, which is really lovely for, little things. And then I'm just gonna glue the footers on. So in this context of this layout, my thought processes around catching up was, things like that, like whether I wanted to die cut 9 pockets versus 1 pocket. And in the end, I felt like it would be nice to see the photos, and so not needing to tuck it in, because I initially thought I might be able to do journaling for the 9, but I didn't have a ton of words. I feel like the photos quite explain themselves, and so I decided to just do a consolidated journaling piece. And I just kind of listed out the things of each of the photo in that little journaling piece. I felt like that was quite adequate. And so it depends. Like, I mean, sometimes you have energy for a lot of writing. I want to do that Santa letters. I usually do letters to my family. And it's funny because going into the season, I had like this list of things that I want to do, and I have done quite a few of it. But quite a lot of it has just been our stories from every day, because those have taken up, the space. And like now we're already at the 22nd. We've had something on pretty much every day that I could document. And then stories like this, where when I didn't have something on the day, I just used a ton of photos of everyday moments that have occurred that may not necessarily be a single story, but I still want it to be in my album. And so I have a couple of stories like this throughout my album, like probably one a week maybe, where I just kind of pull together things that are happening around here, that kind of thing. And I felt like, yeah, that was adequate. I also have the Grinch meal stuff I have in here, craft room. And I don't know if I'll get around to documenting it, because unless I document it tomorrow, well, for the 22nd, which is when I'm doing like shopping, which is another big story. I probably have a lot to say about shopping. So I usually shop so far in advance, like probably during November. And yeah, so it's been a different. I kept sending my husband, links to the things I wanted to get for like my in-laws and my kids. And he's also wrapping up for the year and going on parental leave and that kind of thing. So he was, completely inundated with things. And so that's just that. I want him to kind of be involved, especially things for his parents and things for the kids. But yeah, now I'll be going shopping in person tomorrow, because I think you could figure out what happened. So anyway, I was doing this vellum piece, and I couldn't quite see exactly where everything lined up, because it was white on white. And so I decided to pull out this LED light pad. My friend Mary, who watches my YouTube videos, she asked to see what it looked like crafting on the light pad. And so I took this out especially for you, Mary, if you're watching. I decided that I'm just going to use it, and it'll really help to see exactly where the red line tape should go on this piece of vellum because I couldn't quite see it before that. So just open that out and getting that in there. So it's quite interesting and exciting always. And just going to take the red line tape off and pop that onto the center. It's also a great way to just bring the eyes towards the center of the layout. And we have the journaling tucked in there. So I quite like how that turned out. And I'm just simply going to pop this all the way in and curve the edges. I'll get us the smaller one because that curve was too big for it. I'm just curving the top two edges. Thinking I probably could have done all four, but that's all for now. I might go back and do it. I told one of my crafty friends that I'm creating a list of things to go back that I could optionally add in, like depending on how I feel at the end. When I finish story 25, these are things that I can do. Which might be a part of like my completed flip through video. So we'll see how we go with that. So I'm just gonna tuck this into the layout. I'm just pushing down on the photos because I realized that I just touched them down but didn't press them all the way down. And so tucking that into the pocket. And I love that little piece of ribbon. Oof. It's like a kind of textured cotton stripe ribbon. It's really cute. And I am just gonna pop that on there. More of this, just embracing everything from the season, the everyday beautiful moments. And I paired this Bell acetate with this inner season since I got the collection. And I really just wanted to use that. So just popping on the Holly Jolly here. And I love how this looks in the center. And so I pair that down and then I'm going to add in on, as you can see on the right, that photo and the 3x8. I'm also gonna use my Target bows, little vellum bows. I always find it interesting because they do have quite a few like scrapbooking essentials, which I've found really nice. So this is one that I got a few of because I love little fabric bows, and I keep saying I need to watch just a bow tutorial and learn how to do my bows better. But I haven't quite been able to do that just yet. So here we are with bows. So just adding in some red line tape to the back of the number 17. I have been using these numbers quite a bit for my layouts, and I always love when I kind of lean in. So I have been using, the green, the chipboard, and, whatever was in this year's collection. Which is actually quite a bit because I found that I have like the red and the green. Those are fun too. They're just a tiny little ones. I've been just, tucking in on little tags and whatnot. Super cute to use. The chipboard and the set. I love having a nice variety of numbers to use throughout my album. And yeah, I'm going in here, cutting off a bit of the foam tape that's on this bow. Love the green and the green. And we have some green coming up for that flip in. So we have it here, guys. We have the photo, which is probably the photo that guided this layout and encouraged me to kind of document some of the little things around. And it's a bit longer, but I have cut quite a bit off to get it at this length. So I'm kind of working through what if I want to add some washi. On this side, we chatted about the use of washi and giving myself permission to use washi. And so I'm thinking that I would use that red and white stripe And I'm first gonna just glue this on and see if I like where everything lands, because I could either put it on the right hand side, or I could also put it in the center of the photo. And but this quite kind of does, yeah, it lines up quite just pretty much in the middle, a bit off center. But I love how the layering looks and how it's all coming together. Boop, 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 snap, snap, snap. So just kind of working through. Okay, so I'm gonna glue this down. Where does it glue need to be? It needs to be on the shorter piece of paper, so putting it on a 3x8 code card, and then we have that extra piece on the edge where the washi tape is gonna lie. And so yeah, I really love this washi, and I love that I have given myself the opportunity to use it in a layout. So we're just gonna line that up here, and just gonna cut off the extra edge using my adhesive scissors. The scissors has been really great. I've been using it for a number of years solely for adhesives, and I think it's time for me to clean it. It's just about getting gunky, so that's been a really good use, of this. I love how this looks with the green and the red and white edge. So pretty. So we are feeling great. We are feeling great about this layout. And I also have that lower edge that's white, based on that setting that I used. And so I am also going to use this for the first time, which is a washi tape that I bought a few years ago, also inspired by Ali's use of washi in her December Release Prize. But I just love this very merry little Christmas. So I just I get like on this something that I see that I like, that was previously released somewhere by some crafty brand, and I get it in my head that I need to have it. Like I go on a chase on the internet to find this item, and I'm so happy that I did. I'm not sure if it's something that will be found now. Maybe. But I will look for it, and of course I'll always look for items and link them down below for you. So I stitched this edge, and I mocked up the side a bit from where the sewing machine dragged a bit on the right hand side. So I did add another piece of washi on that side, and I decided I'll just notch it just because I can. And this is it, guys. This is my completed story number 17. So we're almost done. We just have one more to go. This is number 18. And so I made pistachio cream. So I have been obsessed with that viral Dubai chocolate. I have my favorite brand, and they're always going out of stock. And so I decided that I wanted to try making a cookie version of it. I've been seeing lots of cookie makers, and I get lots of reels with cookie recipes now. So I wanted to make this pistachio cream chocolate chip cookie. So there's pistachio pieces in there, there's pistachio cream in the center, and then I used chocolate chunks, like baking chocolate, just kind of broken into chunks versus chocolate chips. And so that's a big brown thing you see in there. I quite like the whole rustic vibe of cookies. There was the option to add like extra cream on top and some more pistachios and salt, but I don't really like all those things, I just love my good cookie, and it came out really good. Like the taste is so good. I'm not a huge cookie person, so I kind of reserve my baking cookies for this time of year, and I'd usually just bake one small batch because, we don't eat a ton of it. And also my mother-in-law, she likes sending Anzacs for us, every time we visit them, every time she comes up. She likes doing it. And so we pretty much the boys always have those answers. It's Australian and New Zealand Army Corps. It's cookies that the wives would make to send when the men were at war. And it's just an oatmeal cookie with kind of like a simple syrup. I've never made it before, and I'm sure the Australians would explain this much better than I have. But yeah, so I loved it, and I do love it. Um, and I think one day I want to try making it. But for now, I love the idea of I get, I guess, hyper focused on something. So in this case, my hyper focus has been pistachio Dubai style chocolate. And I saw another recipe today actually that I want to try. It's the same thing, but there's some slightly different, stuff happening. Anyway, so enough about that. This is my cookie for the year. I'm gonna probably make another batch right before my in-laws come this week so that they can try it as well. Because it's done. I just made 8 though, so we didn't do too badly. And they were actually quite sizable, much bigger than I thought they would be. So I wanted to do this vellum pocket. One of my favorite layouts every year is like a layered vellum pocket. So I'm doing like greens, and I am, just playing into all of those things. And yeah, I didn't have a ton of photos, but I just used the photos that I had. One was my son eating it, one was me after I took my first bite. And so I'm just gonna cut this envelope down, this piece of vellum down, so less than ½ inch on one side, and then it would be 8 inches in total, so ½ inch on either side. And then we have our, I did it around 3.5 inches because I knew that the photos were a bit small. I wanted them to still kind of pick out a bit from the top. And so I have that 3.5 piece there. And then I'm just going to again score along the ½ inch line, and then score again along the other ½ inch line, and then yeah, tuck in my favorite work tool. This is a workhorse. Like, you do tags, sponge holes. One of my favorite tools of all time. Comes in blue as well, if you're not into the pinky lilac colors, but I'm gonna use it to cut my tags down from my photos and whatnot. I am gluing these back to back. It's based on the steps and how the order in which I took the photos, really. Taking it out of the oven, creating little frozen pistachio cream, blobs. A tablespoon of pistachio cream. I feel like I didn't. I mean, I loved it. It was so great. But I feel like if I make a second batch, I'll use a small amount of cream, probably a teaspoon, if so much, and then probably make some smaller cookies versus the size that they recommended, which was 3 tablespoons. Because whoa, I mean, they were great, but they were big. So so just cutting off the edges here around that 1 5/8 mark to get an even edge, and that tag punched in there. And then just you're gonna punch that hole in the center, and once I have that punched, I am just gonna get some ribbons and stuff in the end and finish it off with embellishments. So I'm deciding, instead of doing all tags, to kind of just cut these photos down a bit. And I am just simply playing around to see what I like best. Probably cut this one down a bit and pop it into December memories. And I usually craft at night, which I have quite liked because I realize I get some kind of sun flares when I craft during the day. So you may see a couple of those because, yeah, my husband's now on holiday. So I get, to do just some bits, not a ton, but sometimes I get to steal away. And if nap time works out, I think this day nap time worked out and I got some time to kind of come and sit in my craft room for a bit. So love that for me. I'm just cutting this down and rounding the edges, and I think I'm gonna remain a night crafter because I hate when that happens. So I'm so sorry about that. And yeah, just gonna glue this down and pop that on. Pop that on there. So I sometimes don't like touching the photos. So sometimes I kind of just dab it onto a piece of, like this. Just dab it on, flip it over. So I thought that this might be nice to add on the back and just add a strip of the fa la 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 or washi on there. Or this one. This one would have been cute too. Did I use this one? I think I did. It's a nice chocolate brown scallop. And so just going in there with my chocolate brown scallop and working through which side is best. Ooh. And then I think there's I'm not sure why it was tricky, but I got it. And then I'm just gonna cut it off. And I'm leaning into this whole washi vibe. It just adds a nice little texture, border, cover up, whatever you need. And so cutting this down a bit more and adding it in there. I quite like how that looks, looking at it. But yeah, I felt like I needed to add some more washi, so I'm adding in this fa la 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 one on the left hand side, and I am simply just gonna add this thick edge and cut that down as well. So this has been great. Almost done, guys, and so I enjoy this. This is really fun. I like the different patterns and textures coming through here and the tags, and that's one of the things I look forward to when I'm doing this stuff pocket layout. Like, I just love how it comes together with the different layers and the satin and the cotton ribbons and everything in between. So we're just going to pop that. Just get the edge a little bit neater. I could have used a craft knife, but I didn't. And I'm just gonna layer that on there. So just gonna pop that on. And I'm just gonna pop that over. I'm got my tweezers out and see if I could do that. So I'm just gonna tap it down a bit. I also feel like I could use my elbow for that, which is hilarious. But anyway, I'm gonna just continue doing this for the fa la 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 washi tape with the green. This is a bright green, and I felt like it was so bright the first time I wanted to use it, but then I used it on my layout number 6 with all the greens, and I really love the contrast. So that was fun. Just adding this one in here and working through. I like it. I don't think I'm gonna cut all of them into tags is what I was working through here. I would just cut some of them into tags, and now I'm gonna add some ribbons. The gingham I am obsessed with gingham, by the way. I mean, I love ribbons, but this gingham ribbon, that that tone, I have a few, but this shade of green is, oof, love it. Um, so we have that happening. And then I first thought I would just do the gingham, but then I felt like I would pull out a few other textures, like some of my satin gold ribbons and whatnot. So just working through what will work best. I have this pistachio cream. This was quite nice. Like I tasted it out, before I used it just to make sure it is what it's supposed to be. And it was quite, I guess I was expecting more like a pistachio peanut butter, so just like pistachios and oil kind of made into a cream. But it's actually like a Nutella, I think. Like there's some things in there besides pistachio and the oil. So not sure how I feel, but it was good. It tastes really good. And it was really nice in a cookie, but it is a bit sweet. So yeah, proceed with caution. I printed the recipe that I used, which I thought was pretty nice. Sometimes I pull up recipes, and because I have, history on my phone, I don't save it because I feel like I could always find it. But recently, because there've been so many, new people putting up recipes and things, it's kind of been a bit harder to find some of the old recipes that I've loved. Um, which means that I have to like remember the exact name. So like my favorite cookie, the chocolate crinkle cookie that I've made for the past couple of years. I had to remember, I think it's best fudgy crinkle cookies. Anyway, I have to type in the exact title to find it because there's so many others like it. So yeah, printing recipes, guys, because life's getting exciting. I've been following a lot of food content lately, and I think it's because I've been talking a lot about food with my friends on Instagram. Um, but that's also been quite fun getting lots of new recipes in there to try. And so recently, instead of doing like, a minced beef taco, I did a steak taco. This is carne asado. Can't remember the exact name, but it's so good. Anyway, so thanks to the algorithm for recommending quite a lot of food content. I usually just have scrapbooking content, but now it's scrapbooking food and parenting advice. So I guess those are my top three things. So now we're just gonna wrap this up. I love these pinky blushy hues. I thought those are kind of cookie-esque. And I love the paisley press plaids always. So just kind of, yeah, I did this, and then I didn't quite like how it looked with the photo having a straight corner, so I lifted this photo up so I can round it off. Whoa. And yeah, I mean, just kind of trying to make each tag a little bit unique in some way, form, or fashion, and just kind of wrapping these up. So this is it's my last tag, but I make it into just, yeah, rounded corners, and I'm just gonna glue back that edge that I lifted and pop that in, and I think it's really cute. I like it because, yeah, so that top tab, that's kind of, taupey blushy, and kind of toning in well with the plaid on the right, on that tag. And then, yeah, this is wrapping it up. I'm gonna add in the pocket to the front here. So I'm gonna add some red line tape, and I'm going to cut off those edges so that, yeah, it doesn't bulk too much along the corners. Which is a tip that I learned over the years, and I quite love it, like to the point where I I really get a little bit upset when there's a corner on a pocket. Wee. So let's just, yeah, we're pulling this back. I'm gonna do a little notch here. And so we are just gonna try and center it a bit. I consider doing like a full circle notch. I've done like a heart before. I really liked it. So yeah, it doesn't always have to be a circle part thereof, but it could be different shapes too, which is quite fun. So I'm looking through how I want to attach this seamlessly. This double-sided tape I really love because it's not as sticky as a red line tape, but it is quite effective and it's a bit, more forgiving. Of course, you can also tear it versus having to cut the red line. So I thought it would be great to use it for this, especially because it's behind the photo, are not adhering vellum on top of something. In this scenario, I think it's quite fine. And so just gonna pull that bit back and just go brave and just put those flaps on there. And so once that's pressed down neatly, I am almost through. And I have my little white plate edge on the corners there peeking through. And so I'm gonna add in the title. Now I knew that the white glitter letters would be perfect. I am counting how many letters are in the word pistachio. Can you tell? And then I am getting the middle letter, which is an A, and popping that as close to the center as I possibly can. Once I do this, I could go I usually go, I think, from left to right, and then I fill in the first half of the word after, most times. So that works well for me in terms of centering it. Sometimes it doesn't always work, depending on, you may have a word where the first half are slim letters, for example, like I's or an L, something slimmer versus the wider letters, like maybe C, H, M, W, that kind of thing. So in a case like that, the second half is like, heavier or wider than the first half. And so it is quite interesting, but it generally works for me as a technique. And so just popping in that pistachio cream, boop, 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 just like I had to pop it into the cookies. So guys, for the cookies, I actually had to make it into balls and then place a hole in the center and then pop the frozen cream in there and wrap it around. And then I froze the cookies again. And then I put in the oven. So it's quite a bit of a process. I also had some brown butter. I liked it though. I think it's worth the effort. I think I might, just do a few lovely cookies. Or one. I might stick to my one that intrigues me every year. And so gonna pop in the cream now, and I guess at one point I considered whether I wanted to do pistachio cream chocolate chip cookies as a title, but only pistachio cream could really fit in there. So that's all that could work. So just adding in these last few letters, and then we will organize the tags into the pocket for maximum effect. So I quite love how this looks. I love white alphas on vellum. It is, to me, always stands out so well. And then so now that I have this down, I can go ahead and complete this layout. I think what I also do in this video is just do up my table of contents and pop some things in there. So let's pop these things in. Oh, we have the numbers to work with, but I didn't quite like the boldness of the screen and the size of the green on the top of this cookie. And so, a nice place would have been on the cookie itself, like behind the vellum. Yeah, I didn't think about that until now that I'm looking at it. That would have been nice because you have the 19 poking through, but it would not have been as stark. Yeah. So you pop in these two, there's two hole punch so I could, pass some jute through it. And then I decided to do like a little tag on that. I thought that would look cute. So I have these tags here on my desk, and I was lamenting over the fact that I didn't use them as much as I'd like to. I've used quite a few, of course, but I don't think I've used any of the vellum pieces yet. But anyway, I pull this tag out and I'm like, oh, the 19 will look perfect there, and there's 2025 on top. So that's a beautiful, beautiful way to add it in. So I do that. And then I just kind of tie a little bow. As I said earlier, I'm still learning to tie a bow, so please don't come for me. And I am just going to make two little loops there. I guess you can imagine what my shoelaces look like when I was in school. But anyway, just gonna tuck this in. Those days are gone. Gosh. Anyway, I remember having to have our shoes, our white shoes, polished every day. Anyway, whoa, what a time. So cutting this down to fit, I want it to be pretty much 8.25 inches. I don't want it to be shorter than this. I want it to look like a vellum insert, and we have the cookies behind, and then we popping in these tags about the cookie making. I am going to put on the number 18 here, and just going to, I think they're super cute. I like these tiny alphas. I really, really do. They just kind of make this, a lovely addition to a layout. And so I am going to add in some ribbons into that other one as well. Oh, and also I'm gonna number these tags. So I thought it'd be a nice touch to just add in the different steps. So the cream, then making it into the balls and putting it in the freezer, and then taking it out the oven and putting it. I think I took a photo of me putting it on the kitchen counter, this one here, and then I think my son asked someone, because I'd asked him before if he wanted one, and he said, no, I don't want any cookies, mommy. And then after, before I could eat one, he said, oh, I want a cookie. So I gave him one, and then I went back and had my afternoon tea with my coffee and my cookie. So this is how it all comes together. Love, love, love. Love being able to use those little white alphas, to be honest. And little white numbers, to be honest. And just popping that in. So I'm really grateful that you came along with me for this journey. If you're still here, please comment below how you've liked all of these layouts being together. Just kind of being a cozy little crafty video that you can play along in the background as you craft as well, or as you're cleaning, preparing for Christmas. Like, I felt like it was just really nice as a catch up this week to just kind of work through the layouts, and it's been fun. So, and then this is one of my favorite satins right now. It's kind of antique gold. I think it's quite pretty. And so I'm just adding that onto this tag. I'm gonna cut some of the excess off. Try not to cut too much off. And then I have some green I thought would be nice as a little tab on top of this card. And then once I do that, I can pop it all in. So thank you so much for being here. I will pop on the playlist for December Daily. I'd link that here for you. I do hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. Tell me in the comments down below what you're most excited for this season and in your December daily crafting. I'd very much love to know. And as always, everything is linked for you in the description box. And if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments below. I would be happy to answer them all. Have a great time and happy December daily crafting and happy holiday season. Love how it turned out. Bye.